Hi students, this is Mrs. King. This week we are going to review percent. So I brought our notes page from back in Unit 3. So we actually did several of these problems already in our notebook. So if you look for your Unit 3 notebook, you should be able to find the same information. When you solve percent problems, the first thing that you need to remember to do is how to set up a percent proportion. So I'm going to quickly go over that first. So remember a proportion is when a ratio is equivalent to another ratio. For example, the ratio 1 to 2 or 1/2 is equivalent to 2 to 4 or 2/4. This is a proportional relationship. So for percent problems, there is a percent proportion, and this is what a percent proportion looks like. So a percent proportion looks like this. So you have two ratios that are equivalent to each other, and I actually like to have the percent information here. So in a percent, your denominator, your total percent is always going to be 100 because this represents 100%. Your numerator is the part percent. On the other side of the percent proportion, you're going to have is over of, or in word problems, you will be looking at part over the whole or the total, okay? So when I solve the percent problems, this percent proportion is what I will be looking at. Hopefully you guys remember this, all right? And it is actually the same as the proportion that you see right here, but just because I like to have the percent over 100 on the left side and the is over of on the right side, or part over whole on the other side. So this is what I'm going to be referring to. Okay, so let's practice a couple problems here. All right, so I'm gonna go up and we'll start with this one first. So when I solve percent problems, I always like to circle the key information. So it says find 28% of 25. So I'm going to circle 28%, always circle the percent by itself. And then I'm also going to circle of 25. Now what that means is when I solve my percent proportion, so I'm always going to have 100 on the 100% on the denominator. Since I have 28% and I know that percent goes on top of 100, I'm going to write 28 right here. Now, of 25, so since over here it says is over of, I know that of needs to go on the denominator, which means I am looking for my part number, or the is, okay? Now to solve this, remember you always want to solve going towards the variable, okay? So you need to think about how you can get 100 into 25. And hopefully you know that that is 100 divided by 4 equals 25. So if you do the same thing, 28 divided by 4, you would get the answer, which is 7. And you can nicely box the answer. Okay. Similarly, I'm also going to do the one that's right below that. So it says find 5% of 180. So again, 100% on the bottom. And I have 5%, so 5 on top, of 180, 180 on the bottom. And then x is on top. Again, you're going to solve towards the variable. If you cannot figure out 100 times what is 180, you can do one of the two things. First of all, for this lesson, you can use your calculator. So if you try 180 divided by 100, it'll give you 1 and 8 tenths. What that means is 100 times 1 and 8 tenths is equal to 180. So you can do 5 times 1 and 8 tenths to get the answer. But before doing that, I am actually going to do something else, which is simplifying the fractions. So I have a 5 and 100. So I'm going to simplify it by a common factor, which is 5. So if you divide 5 by 5, you get 1. And 100 divided by 5, you get 20. And then what you can do is 20 times 9 equals 180. So then if you do 1 times 9, you get the answer, which is 9. Okay. All right, now we are going to do a couple more problems on the back. So let's take a look here. All right, before going over some of the word problems, I'm actually going to go over these two problems right here. The first one says 6% of 6 is 30% of blank. Okay, I like to put X on the blank, and I'm going to circle all of the parts that I know. First thing I'm going to do is circle 30% because that is always by itself. Now I have 6 is and of X. Okay, what that tells me is when I set up my percent proportion, let's take a look here, 100% on the bottom. I have 30% right here. And now it says 6 is, which means is over of. So 6 goes on top of X. X is on the bottom. Again, solving towards the variable. So 30 divided by 5 is 6. 100 divided by 5 is 20. Okay. Now the other problem, 15% of X is 75. So setting it up, 100% on the bottom, 15 on top, of X, X on the bottom, is 75. 75 on top. Solving towards the variable. 15 times 5 is 75. 100 times 5. The answer is 500. Okay, so hopefully so far it makes sense. Now I have a couple word problems that I want to go over. So I'm going to actually go all the way up here. And we've done this problem before, but I'm going to read it again. All right, so it says on example 1, the school principal spent $2,000 to buy, there's a typo here, to buy some new computer equipment. Of this money, $120 was used to buy some new keyboards. What percent of the money was spent on keyboards? Now, before we break this down and set up the percent proportion, I do want to clarify one thing. When you're reading a word problem, you are no longer going to be looking at is over of. Okay? You need to look at the situation and figure out what's the part and what's the total. Okay? So don't look at this word of and think that 120 goes on the denominator. Okay? This is just using the grammar. You know, it's the of doesn't apply here. You need to look at which number is the part, which number is the total, and which number is the part percent. Okay? All right. So, first thing I'm going to do is write 100 for the 100%. And hopefully you can tell that it says what percent, which means your X should be the percent right here. Okay, because it says what percent, that means the percent is what you're looking for. It also says that the principal spent $2,000 to buy some new computer equipment. And out of this $2,000, $120 was used to buy some keyboards. And you want to find out what percent was spent on buying keyboards. So hopefully you can figure that $2,000 is the total, $120 is the part, And what percent? Percent is what we are looking for. This time, we solve towards the variable, so we need to go this way. Okay. You could easily figure out 2,000 divided by what would give you 100, but I'm going to also introduce you to another shortcut. If you have, you can simplify it the regular way too, but if you have a 0 here and another 0 here, you can simply cross it out. What you're really doing is you're dividing or simplifying by 10. Okay, but that's a shortcut that you can take. Now you can easily do 200 divided by 2 is 100. So if you do 12 divided by 2, you get 6. However, 6 is not the answer. The question is what percent, and this number represents the part percent. So you need to remember to write 6%. And since it is a word problem, you can even write 6% of the money, which is 2,000, was spent on keyboards. Okay. All right, next one. Out of 25 students in Mrs. King's class, 19 have a pet. What percent of the students have a pet? So out of 25, that means that's the total. 19 have a pet. That's the part number. What percent? That's the question. So again, when you're setting up your percent proportion, 100 on the denominator. Out of 25, 25 was the total. 19 have a pet. So that fraction is 19 out of 25. What percent? X goes on the part percent. Solving towards the variable. 25 times 4 is 100. 19 times 4, 76. And you have to write percent. 76% of the students have pets. I have one more problem to go over, and then that would be the review for today. Okay. 12 of the students in the school choir like to sing solo. These 12 students make up 24% of the choir. How many students are in the choir? So it says 12 students like to sing solo, and these 12 students make up 24%. How many students are in the choir? Okay, let's first write what we know, 100% on the denominator. Now, it says these 12 students make up 24%. So these 24% are the 12 students that like to sing solo. Okay, these 12 students are in the choir and they like to sing solo. And they make up 24%, so they need to be both on the numerator. What you're looking for is how many students are in the choir. That means how many are the total students that are in the choir. X goes on the denominator. You're looking for the total. Again, solving towards the variable. Once you set it up, very easy. Divided by 2. 100 divided by 2, there are 50. There are 50 students in the choir. Okay. Now, just as a reminder, for the percent lessons, you can use a calculator. Okay. However, you still need to show your work by writing your percent proportion, showing how to solve it. However, if you need help in figuring out what numbers to multiply or divide by, you can always use a calculator for the percent lesson. Okay? All right, that's it for today. Thank you.